You don't forget a night when the ground under your feet starts to move. I was standing there, looking straight at what no human eye should ever see, a mountain, rising from its place like a living thing. People ran. Some fell on their faces screaming. Others stood frozen, staring at the impossible. But what I saw next, what Jesus did in that moment, changed everything I ever believed about power, fear, and who really rules this world. I woke up and realized it was a dream, but this dream later became the catalyst for my healing.
Welcome to Dangerous African Confessions HD. This episode story isn't just another testimony, it's a spiritual experience that defies everything logic can explain. What you're about to hear comes from a man who witnessed the kind of power that forces every human being, believer or not, to question what's real. He says the devil himself lifted a mountain before his eyes, and what happened next, what Jesus did in response, left not just him, but an entire community speechless. As you listen, don't try to analyze it too quickly, just let the story speak. Because sometimes, the things that sound impossible are the very moments God uses to prove He's still in control. So sit back, open your heart, and prepare to witness a testimony that reminds us all, hell may have power, but heaven always has the final word.
I was dying, and everyone around me had accepted it, except me. But the truth is, when your body begins to fail, your mind starts to hear things the living never hear. That was the night I heard the ground speak in my dream. I had been sick for almost 2 years. The doctors had done everything they could, but my condition kept getting worse. It was a strange kind of sickness, visible, painful, and humiliating. My body had started to twist, and my legs could barely carry me. My skin was darkened around my neck and chest, and sometimes blood came out of my mouth for no reason. The hospital became like a second home, but nothing worked. I remember one doctor in particular. He looked me straight in the eyes and said, "You should prepare your heart, we've done all we can." Those words broke me. At that time, I was angry with everyone, the church, the doctors, even God. I couldn't understand how a person could pray for healing and get nothing but silence. So I stopped praying. I started sleeping through most of my days, just waiting for the end. But that night, the night that changed everything, I had a dream. In the dream, I was standing alone in a vast open field. Everything was gray, the sky, the trees, even the ground under my feet. There was no sound, not even wind. Then I heard it, a deep vibration beneath the soil, like something breathing under me. The ground began to move, just slightly at first, then violently. And then, in the distance, I saw a mountain, Mount Kira, the one near our village, begin to shake. The soil cracked open, and from the cracks came smoke, black, thick, alive. I watched in terror as the mountain lifted, slowly rising from its base. I could see the roots of the earth stretching like tendons, snapping one by one. People started to appear around me, crying and running, but I couldn't move. It was as if the ground had pinned me there to watch. And beneath the mountain, I saw it, a dark figure, massive and glowing red from within. It stretched out its arms like someone claiming ownership of the land. And then it laughed, a laugh so loud it shook the air itself. The devil wasn't attacking me in that dream. He was showing me what had been holding me for years. I tried to run, but I couldn't. It felt like my body didn't belong to me. Every time I tried to call out for help, my mouth moved but no sound came out. That's when the figure turned its head toward me. It didn't walk, it slid, gliding closer, its eyes like fire. And then I heard a voice, cold, heavy, echoing inside my skull. It said, "You see, I'm the one who holds your life. You will die here, and the world will forget you." I fell to my knees, shaking, unable to breathe. The mountain above me began to crumble, ready to fall. Everything inside me screamed for help, but nothing came out. I felt my spirit slipping, like I was dying inside the dream too. Then suddenly, a sound pierced through the air. It was small at first, like a whisper, but it grew louder, clearer, stronger. It was someone calling my name. I looked up and saw a light, pure, white, but not blinding. It began to move slowly across the field toward me, cutting through the darkness. The dark figure hissed and started retreating. The light came closer until I could feel warmth on my face. Then the voice spoke again, but this time it wasn't fear. It was peace. You will not die. This sickness is not unto death. Watch what I will do." And then, in one flash, the light hit the mountain. The mountain shook once more, but instead of lifting, it bowed. It bent, like something obeying a command. And when the dust settled, I saw the light take the shape of a man, and I knew instantly who it was. It was Jesus. He looked at me, not like a stranger, not like a judge, but like someone who had been there all along. He stretched out his hand toward me and said, "You will stand again." And in that moment, I woke up. When I opened my eyes, the pain in my body was gone, but that wasn't even the real miracle. Because what happened in the next few hours, after I woke up, is what made doctors, friends, and the entire town speechless. When I opened my eyes, I didn't know if I was alive or still dreaming. Everything around me looked the same, but somehow, I knew something inside me had changed forever. I woke up soaked in sweat. It was early morning, and my mother was sitting by my bedside, half asleep on a chair. She had been there for days, refusing to go home, afraid that if she left, she'd come back to find me gone. When she saw me move, she jumped. "Are you okay?" she asked. Her voice was shaking. I didn't know what to tell her. I looked at my hands, the same weak, trembling hands that hadn't been able to hold a cup for weeks. They still shook. But something felt different. The heaviness, the burning pain, the strange pull in my chest, it was gone. I sat up slowly. That alone made my mother cry. I hadn't been able to do that on my own for almost a year on my own. I told her about the dream, every single detail. The mountain, the voice, the light, the man who told me I would stand again. She just stared at me. Her face was pale, her hands covering her mouth. "You saw Jesus," she whispered. "You really saw him?" I nodded. And then she did something she hadn't done in a long time. She smiled through her tears and said, "Then this sickness has already lost." But the truth was, I wasn't healed, not yet. I still felt weak, still coughed blood, and the marks on my body were still there. But I knew something was changing, even if I couldn't see it yet. I didn't rise from my bed that morning healed. I rose believing, and that was the first miracle. The days that followed were quiet but strange. On the second day, I noticed I could eat without vomiting. That hadn't happened in weeks. By the third day, I could breathe normally, without the stabbing pain in my chest. Each morning, I would wake up, look at the window, and whisper the same words I had in the dream, "You will stand again." I didn't tell anyone else, not the doctors, not the neighbors. I didn't want to hear people laugh or say, "It's just your mind playing tricks." But inside, I knew what I saw wasn't a dream, it was a message. By the fifth day, something happened that made everyone notice. I asked my mother to bring me outside. She thought I just wanted fresh air, but I told her to help me stand. She refused at first, afraid I would fall or hurt myself. But I insisted. She held me by the arm, and slowly, I placed my feet on the floor. It was hard, but it wasn't painful. I took one step. Then another. Before I realized it, I was standing, weak but standing, for the first time in almost a year. My mother screamed, crying and praising God at the same time. The nurse ran in, shocked. She kept saying, "What did you do? What happened to you?" And my mother just said, "He saw Jesus." From that day, everything started changing faster. By the seventh day, I could walk from the bed to the door on my own. By the 10th, I could walk around the ward without help. But even though my body was getting stronger, my mind was restless. I couldn't stop thinking about that dream, the voice, the mountain, the shadow. What did it all mean? One night, as I sat on the hospital balcony, I heard that same voice again, gentle but clear. It said, "You saw the mountain rise because that was your sickness. You saw the light descend because that was me bringing it down." I broke down right there, tears rolling down my face. Because suddenly, I understood. It wasn't just a dream, it was a revelation. That mountain represented the weight, the sickness, the demonic hold that had tried to bury me. And Jesus, in that dream, didn't just visit, he fought for me. You see, By the end of that week, I wasn't the man lying in a hospital bed anymore. I was a man who had seen death retreat in slow motion. But what happened when I left that hospital proved that this battle wasn't over, because the same devil who lifted the mountain came looking for me again. You see, I thought the dream was over. I thought healing meant freedom. But what I didn't know was, the moment the light touched me, the darkness marked me too. When I left the hospital, people said I was a walking miracle. The doctors didn't know how to explain it. The scans they took a week before showed serious internal damage, and now, it was gone. The chief doctor shook my hand and said, "You're lucky to be alive." And I just smiled. "It wasn't luck," I said. "It was Jesus." Everyone clapped, some even cried, but deep inside me, I felt something wasn't completely right. Not fear, but a presence. Like I had walked out of the hospital physically healed, but still being followed by something invisible. The first night I slept at home, I woke up drenched in sweat again. The same kind of sweat from before I was healed. At first, I thought it was just my body adjusting. But then it started, the whispers. It was past 2 a.m. I heard someone calling my name softly. I thought it was my mother, so I got up and checked, but she was fast asleep in her room. The voice came again, this time closer, right beside my bed. My heart started racing. The air in the room turned cold, heavy. And for a split second, I saw something, a shadow by the wall, tall and wide, just standing there, staring. I remembered that shape. It was the same one I saw beneath the mountain in my dream. The same fiery eyes, but dimmer now, as if it was hiding in darkness. I tried to speak, but my tongue felt thick. My body was shaking, my heart pounding so hard I thought I would faint. And then, out of instinct, I said the only name I could remember from that dream. Jesus. Instantly, the shadow flinched. It didn't vanish right away, but it moved back like something had pushed it. I whispered again, louder this time, "Jesus." And just like that, it was gone. That's when I learned, deliverance doesn't end when the pain stops. It begins when the battle moves to your spirit. For the next few days, everything felt like a war zone. Every night around 3 a.m., I would wake up sweating, hearing voices, sometimes seeing figures move in the dark corners of my room. During the day, I felt fine. People would see me and say, "You look good now." But they didn't know that I barely slept at night. One night, the attacks got worse. I was lying down, half asleep, when I felt something pressing my chest, like someone sitting on me. I tried to move, but I couldn't. I couldn't breathe. The room felt smaller, the air tighter. Then, right above me, I saw those red eyes again. They didn't speak this time, they just stared. And I realized that this wasn't about sickness anymore. This was about ownership. The same spirit that tried to kill me before wasn't ready to let go. So I did something I hadn't done in years. I prayed out loud. I didn't know fancy words. I just kept saying, "Jesus, save me. Jesus, save me. Jesus, save me." Each time I said his name, the pressure on my chest grew lighter. Until suddenly, it lifted completely. I sat up, gasping for air, drenched in tears. The room felt normal again. The night was silent. But I knew, the devil had just tested me, and I barely passed. The next morning, I called my pastor and told him everything. He came to the house and prayed with me. He said something I will never forget. When God heals you, he doesn't just heal your body, he reclaims what belongs to him. But the devil will always try to fight for what he's lost. That's why you must now live in the Word, not just in your miracle. Those words changed me. I started reading my Bible again, this time with understanding. Every scripture about light and darkness suddenly made sense. Verses like, "The light shines in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not," became real. I realized the fight wasn't against the devil's voice outside, but against the fear inside me that believed him. That week taught me that healing isn't the end of the story, it's the beginning of the battle for your soul. But on the seventh night, when the attacks came stronger than ever, something happened that proved once again, Jesus doesn't just save, he shows up. You see, I thought the battle was over when the attack stopped. But Jesus wasn't done with me yet, because peace is not just the absence of darkness. It's the presence of Him. The seventh night came quietly. No shadows, no whispers, only silence. I remember thinking it was finally over, that I could rest without fear. So I fell asleep early. And that's when it happened again, another dream. I found myself standing by a river. The water was clear and calm, and the air smelled like rain even though the sky was bright. Across the water stood the same man I had seen in my first dream, Jesus. He wasn't surrounded by light this time, He was the light. His presence felt so gentle that I couldn't tell if I was standing on earth or somewhere beyond. He looked at me with the same eyes I saw under the mountain, but this time there was no urgency, no fear, just peace. He smiled and said, "You fought well, but your healing is not complete." I wanted to speak, to ask what he meant, but before I could, he reached out his hand across the water. And when his fingers touched mine, I felt warmth spread through my body like sunlight passing through glass. He said, "Go and wash yourself. When you do, you will be whole again." Then he turned and walked across the river until he disappeared into the light. I woke up with tears in my eyes. The feeling in my chest was gone. No fear, no heaviness, just stillness. This time, the dream didn't scare me, it instructed me. And I knew exactly what I had to do. Early that morning, I got dressed and went straight to see an elder I trusted, Elder Samuel, a man everyone in our town respected for his quiet faith. He had prayed for me many times during my sickness and never stopped believing that God would heal me. When I told him about the dream, he listened carefully without interrupting. After a while, he smiled and said, "Son, the Lord has already finished what He started. But He also wants you to confirm it, so that the world will know it's real." He suggested I go back to the hospital for another checkup, the same hospital where they told me I was dying. At first, I hesitated. Part of me didn't want to face those machines again, those doctors who had already said goodbye. But something inside whispered, "Go." The next day, I went. They ran every test again, scans, blood work, x-rays, everything they could. The process took hours. I waited in the hallway, praying silently, remembering the voice in the dream saying, "Wash yourself, and you will be whole." Finally, the doctor came out holding the papers. His face was blank, confused. He looked at me, then at my file, then back at me again. He asked me, "Are you sure this belonged to you?" I nodded. He shook his head slowly and said, "No trace of what was there before. Your organs are perfect. You are completely clear." For a moment, I couldn't move. I just stared at him, then at the papers, then back at heaven in my heart. Tears filled my eyes, not because I was surprised, but because I knew Jesus had kept His word. I walked out of that hospital lighter than I had ever felt in my life. Every step felt new, every breath sacred. When I got home, I told Brother Samuel everything, and we prayed together, not asking for anything, just thanking God. From that day, I never saw the shadow again. No more whispers, no more fear. Only peace. That's how I learned that when Jesus heals you, He doesn't just touch your body. He rewrites your story. The devil lifted a mountain to destroy me, but Jesus spoke one word and leveled it with peace. And that's why I'm speaking today, not as the man who was sick, but as the man who saw the healer.
You've just heard one of the most powerful testimonies ever told, a reminder that even when darkness rises like a mountain, the voice of Jesus can still bring it down. Our brother's story isn't just about healing, it's about hope. It's about a man who faced death, fear, and the unseen battles that most of us never talk about, and yet found peace through one name, Jesus Christ. Maybe you're listening to this testimony with your own mountain in front of you, sickness, addiction, depression, fear. This story is God's whisper to you, it can move. It will move, just believe. You may not see the miracle in one night. It might take a week. It might take a journey. But if you hold on to His word the way He did, one day, you look back and realize, the mountain that once scared you, is now behind you. So, take a moment right now. If this story touched your heart, let us know in the comments. Share what mountain you're trusting God to move. Someone out there might need to read your words tonight. And if you believe that stories like this deserve to reach more souls, please hit subscribe, like, and share this video. Because every time you do, you help one more person hear that Jesus still heals, and that darkness never has the final say. This is Dangerous Confessions HD, where stories are not just told, they are lived. Until next time, remember, the devil may lift mountains, but Jesus will always walk on them.